this little game called Diablo. Blizzard North made it back in the 90s. You heard about this game, Matt?
Yeah. You know, I think that it was I would say in the top 5 influences on my work.
Your next big title was Hellgate London, and that obviously, you guys had said a few times that was like the spiritual successor of Diablo 2.
Well, we thought it was like, I would say the spiritual successor was kind of the next step, and that's to try to put it into a true 3D world and add shooter elements, and as we know, all kinds of things went wrong with that.
One of the interesting things with Hellgate was you didn't stick to the isometric view. You had more of the following camera.
Yeah, and for the kind of game we wanted to make, it was really more important to get the vistas from down from the behind the character in a more shooter type of position, just because of the kind of weapons we wanted to use and the way we wanted the combats to go. So that was definitely one of the challenges. Is we tried to do a first-person shooter and a third-person shooter with Diablo trappings, and it was a lot to bite off.
In skill trees and stat points, and it was fairly similar to Diablo 2 still in those kind of game systems.
Yeah. I mean, it looked completely different, but the structure was very similar.
And then now you're on Torchlight 1, and Torchlight 2 is coming up pretty soon, and I've been able to play some in the beta lately. Cool. And that really sticks. Torchlight 2 is much more similar to Diablo 2 than Diablo 3 is to Diablo 2, at least in terms of game systems.
Yes, yeah, I would say that it's more tried and it's more in the traditional vein of skill points and things like that. Just because that's not where we wanted to innovate.
Are you aware of Diablo influences in Torchlight?
Yeah, I mean, totally. We've been looking at Diablo screenshots and looking at what they've been doing just as long as as our company's been around. So you can't help but be inspired by it. They're also taking the next step with this sort of game, and it's been kind of cool. I hope that they've been looking at what we've doing and we've been doing, and influencing each other in that way.
Going back a little to Torchlight initial development of that, and that was came out of Mythos, which people didn't really get to see because it didn't really make it out of beta testing, unfortunately. But
we wanted to make something that had the structure of Hellgate London because it began as a network test for Hellgate London. So it was kind of more natural for it to be more of an MMO because that was the structure that we wanted to test. And so we wanted to, and we'd always thought it would be really cool to make a game that had this sort of control scheme and the Diablo style point of view and make an MMO out of it. So it was just kind of a fun, cool opportunity to be able to do it.
Torchlight 2 has evolved from Torchlight 1. A lot of the same game systems, but it's you just wanted more and bigger and more time to work on it? Yeah,
basically we had so little time with the tools and the technology all in place for Torchlight 1 that everyone kind of wanted to see what we could do with some time and a running start and make a much bigger, better world. I think it shows in the game. I mean, right away you're outside running through the hills, and the world feels and seems and is much bigger, and it's pretty evident right off the bat. And we kind of just took that approach with everything. We didn't want to tack multiplayer onto Torchlight 1, so we decided to make all new characters. And obviously it's multiplayer, so they all have to be customizable. And it ended up just like everything is exponentially bigger when you do a multiplayer game. But it's been a ton of fun, and we're having a great time in the beta right now.
You had mentioned in the past in some interviews saying when Diablo 3 comes out, the whole office is going to be shutting down for a week or a month to play it or something. Are you still going to? Obviously, you're being kind with that. You're curious to check it out. But
I guarantee you that we will lose some time to Diablo next week.
When I visited your offices last year in November, Skyrim was fairly newly released, and a lot of you guys, we had a couple of lunches and dinners with some of your developers, and there was a lot of chat about Skyrim, and I saw some machines in the office playing it. So obviously, every developer checks out other games when they come out.
Yeah, and obviously this one has a little extra special interest for us.
Yeah. Blizzard sent you guys a bunch of beta keys to try it out very early on. You seemed like you were kind of reassured by it, like they're going in a really different direction than you are with Torchlight 2.
Yeah, and frankly also reassured to see that it looked really good. And it's weird for me to look at the new Diablo title coming out, and I want it to be good because I want the legacy of Diablo to be good. And it was a relief playing their beta to see that it's super polished and everything.
I've had a couple of friends get a chance to play Torchlight 2 beta as well. And it's the really big difference you notice immediately from Diablo beta, Diablo 3, is that Torchlight just throws you into this big outdoor world and you immediately get access to almost all the game systems. Whereas Diablo 3 is very much sort of on, it's on training wheels at the start. They really carefully introduce you to things.
That kind of just goes back to our kind of more traditional approach, and that we don't really feel like we need to teach people stuff that they've mechanisms that they've used already in all the Diablo games, and so it kind of makes sense that we can just kind of dive right into it. Whereas since they're introducing these new ways that you deal with skills and stuff, that it kind of makes sense to walk you through it a little bit right in the very beginning.
Yeah, we've had some debates in our forums about this, and people are wondering, kind of like the modern gamer expects more immediate gratification, and like things aren't supposed to be difficult to figure out or challenging.
Yeah.
And now people are like, well, I've only got an hour, and I've got kids, and I've got a family, and we're all older. Do you think that gamers have changed in some way? Like the age of being willing to explore a game endlessly is over, and people want a lot of hand-holding now?
Well, I think this is one of these phenomena that people will always say they want a little more hand-holding or want something that makes something just much easier. But then, in retrospect, they don't get as much satisfaction out of it after they do that.
And you're content with Torchlight and how it has a very different approach to the learning curve.
Yeah, again, because I think people kind of intuitively know how to work those things because they're more traditional mechanics that have been used previously.
You guys had talked about a Torchlight MMO at some point. Is that still in the planning for the future?
We don't know what we're going to do after this. We think we have great MMO ideas. We also have a lot of other things we want to do in our gaming career. So, and we also don't know what's going to happen. Is Torchlight 2 going to blow up? Is it going to do well? Where's it going to be? We're going to do the Mac port next, and then we're going to look at the world and see what it looks like and see what makes sense for us. Because an MMO is a huge commitment. It's going to take years to develop, and then you put years into support. So it's really a long-term commitment. We want to make sure that we're ready for it when we do it.
Everybody was trying to do these WoW killers for years, and it's like apparently the industry killed everyone, and now
it's kind of the mechanism of the subscription, though, too. Is it's not conducive to having lots of different games. Whereas the item sales free to play, you can play a lot of different games, and so there's just a part of that like only one person can own the subscription market. It's obviously World of Warcraft. You
guys still haven't mentioned a release date for Torchlight 2? It's a month after Diablo?
Well, we're not going to do it within a month of Diablo. That's what we're saying. It's coming along real well. The beta's going real well. I think that we're probably finding fewer issues and bugs and substantial things that we had to work on than we thought. Hopefully we can get right back to work on polishing the rest of the game and get it out as soon as we can after Diablo.
Okay, Max. Well, thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks a bunch.